Hi everyone, Carter Krishnaiyer here for Beyond the 90. I wanted to give our viewers, our listeners, our readers an update on the USL labor negotiations. We have now hit the middle of January. This is January 17th today. And as I think everybody listening knows, the collective bargaining agreement expired on December 31st. So we are now operating without a CBA. And for the time being, there is the contracts that are being signed. You see USL Championship teams bolstering up on new players and extending the contracts of some players that may have previously been on their roster. That is being done under the parameters of the old CBA. There will have to be amendments to those contracts when there is a new collective bargaining agreement. So where are we in the negotiations? Last week I had reported that the major sticking points were around licensing fees, around the baseline compensation, and we're using the term compensation, not wages or salary, because it includes healthcare. And we're also seeing some differences of opinion on 12-month contracts, 10-month contracts versus 12-month contracts. And there is also some other issues related to contracts and contract terminations and the ability to terminate contracts during the course of a season that are being discussed, from what I understand, between the union and USL HQ. Now, what is becoming particularly evident to me talking to people around the league, and I'm going to have an article on this in the next few days, and I know my colleague Jonathan Starling with the Third Half is also covering this, and we'll have something on Beyond the 90 regarding the negotiations and where we sit and the landscape we're facing at the moment. But we have different camps of clubs, and remember, USL is structured differently than other professional leagues. The owners of clubs do not own the league. They are franchisees. The league is owned by a different holding company. They have their own interests. Now, they're talking about launching Division One. They're talking about promotion and relegation. They are they advertise themselves as a big-time league with television deals with CBS Sports, with ESPN, and with Univision or TUDN, which is owned by Televisa, one of the television giants in Mexico. And they have, as I said, they have games on CBS over the air. They have brought games on CBS broadcast. They have games on CBS Sports Network. They have games on the Golazzo channel. They have games on ESPN2. They have games on ESPN. They have games on ESPN Plus. So they present themselves as a very big-time operation. Now, there are huge disparities, and I think everybody knows this, huge disparities between the way clubs operate in this league. Sacramento operates at this level. Hartford operates at this level. I'm going to use those two examples, okay? I'm not going to call out other teams and other owners. I think it's widely known about those two. And there are some others that are really on kind of that level of Hartford, and there are a few others that are at the level of Sacramento. And then there are teams in the middle. What I am hearing is that there are people in management, not necessarily the owners, but people in management at some of those so-called bigger clubs that are saying, you know what, we are in a position where the floor has to come up to raise the standard, because there are times where we're sending our players out away from home and they're playing in a substandard facility in front of a couple hundred people. We have more people, and I'm going to put this in my article. I think it is kind of an embellishment, but someone told me we have more people at our supporter watch parties than some of these clubs have in the stands. So the raising of the floor is important if you're going to create not only the competitive balance that fans want, which seems to be a very American and Canadian thing. You go to Europe, there's less concern about competitive balance. It's it's dog eat dog. The rich prevail. Leicester City being an exception, right? Kaiserslautern way back when being an exception in the Bundesliga. Here we're all into competitiveness and competitive balance. So I think fans want to see more competition that way and more of a level playing field. But then you also have a situation, if you're an investor, you own a club, or you're in management at a club that is ambitious, and you see you're doing the right things, right? You're giving healthcare to your players. Healthcare is another issue. I should have mentioned that at the outset. You're giving healthcare to your players. You have them at a certain wage level. You are you are very much giving them a very safe and professional working environment. And then you have other clubs in the league that don't do that. It eventually reflects on your investment and on your business. And it eventually may creep into damaging your investment and your business. So I think one of the things I'm going to be looking for in the next month, because now it's January 17th, I think if we don't have an agreement by February 15th, we have some problems. One of the things I'm going to be looking for is, how do the big clubs react? What do they say anything? Do they do anything? I know, like I've said privately, some people at those clubs are saying, you know what, we don't have a problem with anything the union's asking for. We already give health care. We're already paying players over $40,000 a year. Going to 12-month contracts isn't that big of a deal. We're just kind of spreading the wages out maybe a little more. We don't have a problem with giving players more money in licensing. The league should be doing that, although there'll be some dispute about whether the league should be doing that or the club should be doing that. So that is still there. But I just think we're at a critical point. Now, I've seen the word impasse used. You don't use that word in labor negotiations like this. We are not at an impasse. Okay, there is a negotiation ongoing. There are more sessions planned for this week. Both sides are talking and meeting in good faith. There are proposals and counter proposals going back and forth. I can report that. Now, if we are not where we need to be in 4 weeks, then I think we have to start thinking about other descriptions of the situation and describing what might not be as pleasant a thing to discuss and what might happen to the first few weeks of the season. But we're not there yet. And as I said, I think there are differences in the room among the owners, or not in the room, on owners' calls maybe, because the owners aren't necessarily in the room during the negotiations. This is another thing about USL. There are few owners represented, but it's really USL employees, HQ headquarters employees, who the teams don't hire and fire, right? The teams have nothing to do with who gets hired at USL HQ, that are handling this, particularly the president of the league, Paul McDonough. So he's the key figure. Keep an eye on this. We're going to keep everybody updated. I had not given a video update in a while because it was the holiday season, but we will continue to update you on the labor situation in the USL Championship as the weeks progress and as events warrant.